Today I am narrating a film featuring a battle of two twisted minds. Can you imagine how the goddess imprisoned in a dog cage manages to escape? And once she escapes, how does she turn the male protagonist into her outlet for pleasure? The film begins. Our main character, Benedict, works at a pet store. Feeding the pets within the shop is his daily routine. Being not so attractive, his life is monotonous and dull. Although he yearns for a pet of his own, his meager income leaves him no choice but to reside in a low-cost apartment where pets are forbidden. However, everything changes on this fateful day. On his bus ride home, he encounters Holly, the popular girl in his high school days. Thrilled beyond measure, Benedict, eager to break free from his mundane existence, plucks up and picks up on her. Holly barely recalls him. After hearing some gibberish, she offers Benedict a polite smile and hastily left, leaving Benedict alone wistfully, forlornly watching her receding figure. Benedict does not give up. He delves into social media to learn more about Holly, discovering she has recently suffered a breakup and now works as a waitress in a restaurant. He then consults his coworker, Jack, an experienced man seeking for advice on wooing girls. Jack tells him it is crucial to exude confidence and humor in front of a woman to appear impressive and capable. Benedict takes Jack's words for granted. Drawing upon Holly's online information, Benedict meticulously makes his plan. He purchases 2 concert tickets. She has long anticipated, dons a budget suit and heads to the restaurant where Holly works, launching his second offensive. However, Holly shows no interest in him, even displaying a hint of disgust at his clumsy vaunts. Impatiently, she claims she already has a boyfriend, leaving Benedict feeling defeated once more. Yet hope lingers in Benedict's heart. He begins to tail after Holly every day. Holly, sensing something amiss, returns home, complaining to her roommate about a recent stalker. Her roommate comforts her, advising her not to be overly suspicious. At that moment, Holly's ex-boyfriend calls. She eagerly answers but overhears her roommate quietly asking if he is drunk. Holly whispers back, a little. Her boyfriend, with keen ears still, inquires who she is speaking with, who she is living with. Suppressing her excitement, Holly puts on a cold tone, telling her ex-boyfriend, stop bothering her, and hangs up. Meanwhile, the persistent Benedict orders a large bouquet of flowers for Holly, but upon receiving the bouquet, Holly assumes it's from her ex-boyfriend and is overjoyed. That evening, she visits the bar where her ex-boyfriend works, hinting that she is open to a rekindle on their relationship. Benedict, who had been tailing Holly all along, witnesses her engaging in lively conversation with her ex-boyfriend, feels crestfallen. When Holly steps outside for a smoke, he confronts her, blocking the entrance, asserting agitatedly that he sent the flowers, insisting on talking to her. Holly, displeased with Benedict's persistence, labels him a pervert, shoves him away, intending to leave. The two begin to struggle. Upon seeing this, Holly's ex-boyfriend gallantly intervenes, pummeling Benedict and casting him out. Before departing with Holly, Benedict, bruised and battered, discovers Holly's personal diary had fallen to the ground during their scuffle, eagerly picking it up as if it were a priceless treasure. Meanwhile, Holly, upon returning home, tells her roommate in a panic that she has lost her personal diary. Fearing it may lead to major trouble, Benedict, now in possession of Holly's diary, uncovers a hidden side of his dream girl. The seeds of perversion slowly begin to sprout within him. In the pet store's basement, he finds an abandoned storage room, procures tools, and through online research, constructs a sturdy pet cage, placing it within the forsaken storage space. He also prepares an assortment of anesthetics and injections, measuring out the proper dosages, then resumes tailing Holly daily. On a dark and stormy night, Benedict deems the timing ripe. He scales through Holly's window, and as Holly finishes her shower, preparing for bed, he pounces, pinning her down, injecting her with an anesthetic, and starts abducting her. Benedict stuffs Holly into a crate, deceiving his co-worker Jack without incident, successfully transporting her to the abandoned storage room in the pet store's basement. Strangely enough, Holly's roommate remains oblivious to the unfolding events. The scene shifts. Holly awakens in darkness, horrified to find herself locked in a cage, spiders crawling on her body. She screams in terror, crying out for help, yet her pleas for rescue are drowned by the barking of dogs in the kennels above. No one can hear her. The next day, Benedict arrives with fast food for her, thoughtfully providing a chamber pot as well. Holly instantly curses him, branding him a pervert. Benedict, experienced in animal training, responds coldly, so stubborn I'll starve you for 2 days. Then he takes away the food and leaves. A day goes by. Benedict returns to the abandoned storage room. Holly, weakened and delirious from hunger, has no strength left. Benedict gives her some water and brings some food. Holly no longer holds on to stubbornness and pride, grasping Benedict's pant leg, pleading for him not to leave. Benedict coldly responds, "You need to understand our relationship. You are now my pet. Pets don't cling to their owner's pant leg," and he leaves. After Benedict leaves, the well-fed Holly huddles in the cage, shivering, realizing she may be trapped in this cage for the rest of her life. At that moment, her roommate appears outside the cage. It turns out the roommate is imaginary and doesn't truly exist. The imagined roommate says, "You're now at the mercy of others. If one day he grows tired of you and stops coming, you'll starve to death here, so you must try your best to please him. Win his favor. Despite the circumstances, Holly still harbors a trace of defiance. Shouting, "Shut up!" her imaginary roommate vanishes. A few days pass. Holly's mental state gradually changes every day. She eats, sleeps, and takes care of bodily functions in the cage. One day, while urinating, she discovers a rat crawling on her foot. Frightened, she screams and furiously stomps the rat into a pulp. Another day, Benedict came to visit Holly. Holly asked him if he would humiliate her or end her life. Benedict replied, "No, I intend to transform you. I wish to save you." He then produced Holly's personal diary and said, "I used to be an inconspicuous ordinary person in the vast sea of humanity. You, on the other hand, were a pretty among all only after discovering your greatest secret. Did my life gain meaning? For I was different from the others. I understood your hidden side. In your diary, you wrote love is merely a physiological response, yet love is a form of sacrifice." As it turned out, within Holly's diary, Benedict discovered the Holly's most terrifying secret. Each word recorded was utterly shocking, making one shiver in fear. Holly's ex-boyfriend cheated on her with her roommate. She broke down furiously. She drove with her roommate to confront her ex. However, they encountered a car accident en route. Seizing the chaos, Holly put an end to her roommate. From that moment on, she became infatuated with the thrill of taking lives, beginning to commit random acts of violence. At first, Benedict could not believe this was true. He decided to follow her, and with his own eyes, he witnessed. As night fell, she transformed into a bloodthirsty reaper, cruelly ending the lives of one innocent bystander after another. Thus, Benedict resolved to save her from her madness to prevent any more innocent people from being harmed. He found this storage room, created this cage intending to tame her as a pet, to bring changes on her. Upon learning that Benedict knew all her secrets, Holly began to show remorse, pleading, "I truly need saving. Let it start now." Benedict looked at Holly in the cage and earnestly said, "I will then." He turns off the lights and left. After his departure, the vision of Holly's roommate reappeared, praising her impressive performance. Holly, intrigued, replied, "I must make him believe that he can save me." Little did he know, Holly had just begun. Formulating her counterattack plan in her mind, she intended to make Benedict understand who truly was the pet. From that day on, Benedict noticed Holly was no longer panicked. She began to initiate conversations with him, discussing the sensations she experienced during taking away lives. With great interest, Holly told Benedict, "Don't assume you understand me and don't fall in love with me." Yet Benedict brought out her personal diary, claiming that he alone in the world truly understood her. However, Holly started to violently crash against the cage, creating bruises, and warned him, "By tomorrow, you'll find me dead here." As she predicted, Benedict's face showed fear. Becoming agitated, she licked the blood from her face and said, "Let me die here. The police will find you and you'll be doomed as well. Our fates are now intertwined. Now I am in control of you." Frightened, Benedict angrily slammed the door and left, deciding to starve her for 2 more days to show her who truly holds control. 2 days passed. Benedict came to the abandoned storage room, coldly threw 2 packets of instant coffee at Holly while eating an apple. He told her this was her food, then turned to leave, but Holly stopped him. She softened her expression and said, "I had a dream yesterday. Just the 2 of us living in a house underwater. Happy and sweet." These words somehow touched Benedict. His heart softened. He decided to go and buy her some food to bring back. On the other hand, Benedict's recent strange behavior raised suspicion in his colleague Jack, secretly following him to the underground storage room. After Benedict left, Jack, hidden in the darkness, immediately went inside, finding the beautiful young girl locked in a cage. Upon seeing Jack, Holly firstly asked him not to call the police and quickly finds tools to break the chains and let her out. Clumsily, Jack began to study the lock. Meanwhile, Benedict, returning with the food, noticed that someone had entered the storage room. Immediately becoming tense, he picked up a short stick and cautiously entered Jack with his back to the door, working on the lock. Had no idea Benedict had come in. As Holly had seen him, she didn't warn Jack, instead revealing a subtle smile. Suddenly, she grabbed Jack's hand. With a hint in her voice, she asked, "Do you know what true love is?" "True love is sacrificing everything for the one you love." Jack, looking bewildered, stared at Holly, unsure what she was talking about. Benedict, who understood the hidden meaning, had quietly moved behind Jack, strikes him hard in the back of the head. Jack turned around. The 2 men wrestled with each other. The small frame Benedict was no match for Jack. At a critical moment in their fight, Holly, in the cage, stuck her leg out and tripped. Jack's large body suddenly fell, landing right on a sharp blade. Benedict, stunned, stood not knowing what to do, while Holly, with a serious expression, urged him, "Go, hurry up, pick up the brick to finish off Jack." Benedict tremblingly refused. However, Holly spoke with deep affection, "I can't lose you." Benedict was finally deluded, immediately turned around and picked up the stone. Following her instructions, he finished off Jack completely. Seeing the miserable state of his colleague, Benedict was terrified. Holly in the cage, and calm, taught him instructions with the corpse next and destroy any traces he followed. Holly's instructions dismembered Jack, fed the pieces to a pet dog, burned the clothes, then reported to his boss, pretending to have discovered Jack's disappearance. Finally, he threw Jack's teeth into the city's sewer step by step. According to what Holly had told him, Benedict successfully disposed the body, but as well firmly under Holly's control. Now, what Holly only had to do was to lock this person, who was on the verge of breaking down completely in the cage of her heart, and make him her pet. She told the disbelieving Benedict, who had taken someone's life away, "Don't deceive yourself. This is the truest side of your inner self. You like me because we are the same kind of person, accept your true self." Then she took Benedict's hand and placed it on her face with a gentle, infatuated expression rubbing against it, then moved Benedict's hand lower, seductively saying, "Help me." Benedict immediately withdrew his hand. Holly's expression instantly filled with disappointment and said, "I thought you loved me." She then turned away and ignored Benedict. Benedict, in panic, left the room. From that day, Holly began to ignore him. Not a word nor sustenance she took, refusing to engage in any form of communication, which grew Benedict's panic. His mental state deteriorated over time. His emotions became more volatile with each passing day. At last, Holly told him it was all over. "Can you help me or not? You've caged me. This is not love. This is possession. I can't set you free," Benedict said. "I don't need you to release me," Holly replied in despair. "I just need proof that you love me." Benedict eagerly inquired how he could prove it. Holly told him, "A single finger. I want one of your fingers to accompany me." Benedict repeatedly refused. Terrified, he claimed it was impossible. Holly did not look at him. Tears of sorrow fell from her clear eyes. Choking back sobs, she said, "I thought you genuinely loved me. I thought there would be someone in this world like me, in a company to my lonely existence. Just leave and never return." Not knowing what to say or do, Benedict left the dimly lit, abandoned storage room. Just as he left the basement, he saw his boss talking to the police. Jack's case seemed to be exposed that the police had initially questioned him. He returned to the restroom and stared at his reflection, once ordinary and unremarkable. It was Holly's appearance that brought meaning to his life. In a sense, Holly had saved him, infusing a hint of color into his mundane existence. But Holly was leaving him. His life had become a tangled mess. After much deliberation, Benedict returned to the abandoned storage. Outside the cage, he asked Holly, "If I give you my finger, will you believe that I love you?" Holly seriously replied, "Yes, of course so." Benedict crouched beside the cage and severed one of his fingers. As blood gushed forth, Benedict's face twisted in pain. A faint smile appeared on Holly's lips. She picked up the knife he'd thrown on the ground, held it against her throat, and fiercely told Benedict, "Let me out or I will end my life. You've lost a finger now. If you don't listen to me, you'll lose me too." Completely under Holly's control, Benedict, enduring the pain, opened the cage and released her. Holly, now free, pinned Benedict against the wall. Her gaze filled with tenderness, she said, "You saved me. I do love you," and deeply kissed his lips. After a moment of sweetness, her eyes turned fierce. The scene shifted to Holly and her ex-boyfriend reunited, living happily together. But one day, she inadvertently discovered his flirtation with another girl. Her expression turned cold in an instant. Yet she did not unleash her fury, nor confronted her boyfriend. Instead, she went out alone, to an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts. Inside the warehouse was an iron cage with a battered figure inside. The person in the cage, upon hearing Holly's arrival, eagerly reached out with a hand, left with only 3 fingers. That person inside the cage was none other than Benedict. Once Holly regained her freedom that day, she locked him in a cage, stowed away in a warehouse. Each time her boyfriend strayed, a savage craving surged within her and she'd visit Benedict to unleash her fury. Now his visage lay in tatters, eyes blinded, limbs mutilated like a pet. He beseeched Holly with tender pleas. The film concluded a quintessential tale of twisted minds clashing. The female lead could not accept Benedict. "I fully comprehend. For often, disliking means just that someone treating me well does not change my view of love at all." Yet the female lead could never sever ties with her frequently unfaithful ex, leaving me utterly confused. So when a relationship is ceaseless forbearance, truly the best solution to mend what's torn apart? I eagerly await your thoughts. That concludes this video. Thank you dear friends for watching. See you in the next video.